Hello, and welcome to another Angry unit of the week. And today we're taking a look at the Königstiger H. So, the Tiger 2, the Royal Tiger, the King Tiger, Königstiger, whatever you want to call it, it's that tank. The tank you saw 10 years old on the History Channel. Wow, that's a really cool looking tank. No way the Germans should have lost the war, and then you go down the rabbit hole of where the Germans should have run the war if they just built more Messerschmitt 262s. Anyway, the Tiger 2 was the follow-up to the Tiger 1 tank, the same principle of a heavy assault tank to break through enemy lines, because by 1944 the Germans really needed to break through the lines, not fight a defensive war. Anyway, like with the 1942 Tiger 1, this 1944 Tiger was going to have the armor and armament to match the modern battlefield, mainly being fitted with a longer 88mm gun, a similar one to the Pak-43, and now sloped armor, with anywhere from 100 to 150mm of armor effectiveness, a 700 horsepower engine, and it weighed a whopping 70 tons. So, the turret thing. I'm not going to get into massive detail on why the turrets are called what they are, but essentially, as in game, you got the Tiger P turret and the Tiger H turret. This is actually infactual. Both turrets were actually designed by Krupp. So really, they are the Tiger early model turret and the Tiger later model turret. Basically, the problem with the early turret was with the sloped frontal part of it, it created a shot trap. Like with the early Panther designs, if a shell was to hit the lower part of the curvature, it would just kind of bounce into the top part where the driver is and penetrate the tank, which wasn't ideal. So they'd end up switching to the late model turret in later production. Speaking of production, this would really enter into official service in the middle of 1944, and before the war's end, there'd just be under 500 being produced. In terms of its actual effectiveness, I think the Tiger 2's really been talked about to death. It's pretty much the classic German over-engineering problem. It's an incredibly, incredible piece of technology. It's a very powerful tank which will beat anything in a one-on-one fight. But by God, it's not very reliable, and it's just outnumbered in a war where it's really just about numbers in the end of the day. Having a big super heavy tank is not as good compared to just having 10 decent medium tanks. It's a pretty good example in regards to the technical disability of the Tiger 2, as during the Ardennes offensive, there is a unit of Tiger 2s which were to follow up the initial attack made by the German army. However, the problem was, well, first breaking down in the snow because it's an unreliable tank, and secondly, because it's a 70-ton tank, the majority of bridges they encountered they could not cross as it could not support the rate. So a lot of these Tiger 2s would end up just being abandoned on the side of the road during that offensive. In game, the Königstiger H is a 290 point heavy, you could say super heavy tank, available exclusively to the 16th Panzer Division. It has 2 Rappens. So the Rappen loadout is pretty beefy, well, the main gun is the long 88 with 44 AP and 44 high explosive shells. There's not really too much I need to say about this gun. We all know how bloody dreadful it is to be on the receiving end. It will go for any tank, it does a lot of damage, it does decent HE damage, it's accurate, it's long range, not the fastest thing in the world, but you can't have everything. You only have 2 machine guns. Down to miscellaneous stats, it has a whopping 200mm of frontal armor, strong top armor, 90mm at side and 90mm at back. It goes 34km off-road, 42km on the road, has bad stealth, and very low optics. So in battle, the Königstiger H, and let's also talk about the P in this case, are pretty much identical apart from a little bit of extra armor on the P. The King Tiger is a very scary unit, as you might imagine. Statistically speaking, it's the most powerful tank in Steel Division 2. In a run-on-run fight, this tank can pretty much beat up any other tank. However, unfortunately for the Germans, warfare isn't just one-on-one fights. Even though this is an extremely powerful tank, it does have, surprisingly, quite a lot of vulnerabilities. The main run is being bombed to hell and back from an allied air force. Because this is such a powerful and priority target for the majority of your opponents, they're going to try to pretty much leverage as much, usually high explosive power, to blow up your Königstiger, as it's really the most effective way to deal with it at long range. However, the actual effectiveness of the Königstiger really depends on the mode you're playing. If you're a 10v10 player, you might know that the Königstiger can be quite a scary unit due to just how much of a chaotic battlefield becomes on the 10v10 and just how narrow and how it just comes down to pushing a bunch of powerful units through a small corridor, having a big gun with big armor on a big tank proves to work rather well. So in 10v10s, this can be an absolute powerhouse. However, in a 1v1, the tables get reversed quite a bit, because the Königstiger is such a heavy investment unit, usually taking 2 ticks of balanced income and C phase to afford. It's going to be difficult to bring this out and also be able to defend the rest of your flanks. And because it's such a high priority target, you usually get bombed to hell and back, because if you brought Königstiger, it's going to be hard to buy an anti-aircraft net to protect it, especially if you're trying to do offensive maneuvers, as the Königstiger on the attacking 1v1s usually just gets outflanked and outmaneuvered because it's only a single unit. However, the Königstiger does have a niche use on certain open maps like Sluch and one valley area of Ciano, because if you were to place a Königstiger in a defensive position with a wide open field in front of it, your opponent is frankly just not going to push it. It's such an intimidation factor. They're either going to have to invest in a lot of aircraft and artillery to route back the Königstiger, or they're just going to have to push somewhere else. It is a heavy investment to do this, but it is such a powerhouse in this one role that usually your opponent has to invest into a lot of points in specific units to king your Königstiger, when you can actually start maneuvering around to the rest of the map while they try to deal with this big behemoth. The availability in both divisions where the Königstiger is available, the other one being 21st Panzer, is quite generous. You get 4 to 6 cards of these, which is really more than enough. You really only can take 1 to 2 cards of Königsteigers in most decks, unless you're playing a 10v10, and of course you're probably going to take all 6, because you're playing Juggernaut income and you're going the distance. Anyway, you get 1 in A phase and 2 in B phase, because having 3 in C phase would be ridiculous. Overall, the Königstiger is a very special unit. It is absolutely overkill in the majority of situations, and you gotta be very careful of it, because it's a huge loss if it does get blown up. However, if you manage to micro it effectively and use it more as a, especially in 1v1s, a deterrent rather than a lean mean killing machine, it can actually prove to have a decent use. And as in 10v10s, just get 20 of these, push them down a lane, and then destroy everything. And hopefully you have a good anti-aircraft net to stop all those IL-2s from bombing you to smithereens. And well, I'm going to leave it off at that. This has been another Range Unit of the Week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as usual, please just take it easy.